Come closer, my child, and take a deep breath over this glass jar. Do you smell that? It does not smell like sour vinegar, and it certainly does not smell like those sharp chemical packets of commercial yeast they sell in the supermarket that make your stomach burn with acid. What you are smelling right now is the perfume of sweet autumn apples, wild wildflower honey, and the gentle bubbling breath of a living sourdough starter that has been alive in my family for over 100 years. When modern bakers try to make sourdough, they often give up after a week of frustration. They mix flour and tap water from a metal faucet. Watch it turn gray and smelly on their counter. And after 7 days of throwing half of it in the trash, they end up with a loaf of bread so sour and dense that it feels like chewing on a piece of leather. And then they wonder why their grandparents ate bread every single day of their lives and never suffered from bloating, heartburn, or indigestion. Let me tell you the truth that big food corporations forgot to teach you. In the old stone villages of Tuscany, an Italian nonna would never waste good flour trying to capture wild yeast out of thin air with plain water. We did not leave our bread to chance. In late September, when the wild red apples in the orchard were ripe and dripping with natural sugars, my grandmother Rosa would take 3 simple things that cost next to nothing: the peel of an unwashed wild apple, a single spoonful of raw, unfiltered honey, and a cup of pure spring water from the well. With those 3 humble gifts from the earth, she created what we in Italy call the sweetest, strongest pasta madre in the world, a natural starter that rises twice as fast as modern starters, carries a delicate fragrance of honeyed orchards, and creates bread so soft, airy, and gentle on your digestion that your whole body sighs with relief after the first warm slice. Today, I am going to give you that 100-year-old secret. I am going to teach you how to create your own wild apple and honey starter from scratch for $0, how to feed it so it lives for generations, and how to bake a golden peasant loaf that will make your kitchen smell like a Tuscan bakery in autumn. To understand why this method works so magically, you must understand the secret living on the skin of an apple. You see, an apple growing under the warm sun is covered in a delicate, invisible white bloom. That white dusting is not dirt. It is a thriving colony of the purest wild yeasts and beneficial lactic acid bacteria in nature. When you drop those apple peels into warm spring water with a touch of raw honey, the honey acts like pure liquid sunshine. It provides instant natural fructose that wakes those dormant wild yeasts from their sleep. Within 48 hours, before you have even added a single grain of flour, that water transforms into a lively, fizzy, sweet cider ferment that is teeming with billions of active microorganisms. When you finally introduce flour to that fermented nectar, the yeast does not struggle to survive against bad bacteria. It explodes with joyful life. Now roll up your sleeves and let me give you the exact 4-day protocol so you can start this in your kitchen today. You do not need expensive laboratory equipment or digital scales. All you need is a clean glass quart jar, a piece of clean, breathable cloth, and 4 days of gentle patience. On day 1, in the morning, take 1 organic, unwashed apple, preferably a rustic red or golden apple that has never been sprayed with waxy chemicals. Peel the apple, eating the fruit yourself or saving it for your morning oats, and place all the fresh peels into your glass jar. Pour in 1 cup of lukewarm spring water or filtered water that has no chlorine. Add 1 generous tablespoon of raw, unfiltered honey. Stir it gently with a wooden spoon until the honey dissolves completely in the water. Cover the top of the jar with a piece of breathable linen or a cheesecloth secured with a rubber band so the ferment can breathe while keeping out curious dust. Place that jar in a warm, cozy corner of your kitchen, away from drafty windows. On day 2, walk over to your jar and look closely. You do not need to add anything. Simply take a wooden spoon, give the liquid a gentle swirl for 5 seconds, and cover it again. By the evening of the 2nd day, you will see tiny white fizzing bubbles dancing around the apple peels, exactly like a glass of sparkling Prosecco. When you lift the cloth, a heavenly aroma of sweet fermented cider and warm honey will greet your nose. That is the sign that the wild yeast colony has taken over and is ready for its first feast. On day 3, we introduce the grain. Take a fork and gently fish out the spent apple peels from the jar and discard them into your garden soil. Their work is done. What you are left with is a cloudy, highly active honey apple ferment. Into that sweet liquid, add 3/4 of a cup of unbleached stone ground flour, either all-purpose whole wheat or durum flour. Stir vigorously with your wooden spoon until all the flour is absorbed into a thick, smooth paste, like warm pancake batter. Wipe down the inside glass walls of the jar with a spatula. Put the breathable cloth back on and leave it on your counter. By day 4, prepare to be amazed. In less than 24 hours, the wild yeast from that apple will devour the carbohydrates in the flour. When you wake up on the 4th morning, your starter will have surged up the sides of the jar, tripling in volume. It will look like a soft, fluffy cloud riddled with millions of delicate webbed air pockets. When you smell it, there will be 0 sharp vinegar bite, only the warm, sweet, buttery fragrance of fermented apples, toasted wheat, and wild honey. Your wild pasta madre is officially alive and ready to bake your very first loaf of bread. Now let me teach you Nonna's golden rule of maintenance, because this is where modern internet recipes lead good people astray. Modern bakers tell you to take your starter and throw half of it into the garbage can every single day. When I see people dumping good flour and starter down the kitchen sink, it breaks my old Italian heart. In our village, wasting food was considered a sin against nature. You never need to discard a single spoonful of this starter. Once your starter is established, you only feed it when you are ready to bake. If you bake once a week, keep your jar sealed with a loose lid inside your refrigerator. The cold temperature puts the wild yeast into a peaceful slumber, slowing down its metabolism so it stays healthy without eating. When Friday comes and you want to bake fresh bread for Sunday morning, pull the jar out of the refrigerator on Friday night. Give it half a cup of warm water and half a cup of fresh flour. Stir it well and leave it on your warm counter overnight. By Saturday morning, it will be overflowing with bubbly energy, sweet and ready to mix into your dough. You take whatever amount your recipe calls for, usually half a cup to 1 cup, and the small amount left in the bottom of the jar goes right back into the refrigerator until the next week. No waste, no stress, and no buying commercial yeast ever again. If you go on vacation for a month, or if life gets busy, do not worry. This apple and honey starter is resilient. It can sleep peacefully in the back of your refrigerator for 3 months. When you return, simply pour off any clear liquid on top. Feed it 2 days in a row with fresh flour and warm water, and it will roar back to life with the same sweet vigor. Now, let us bake a loaf of bread together, using this living elixir, so you can taste the difference for yourself. This is Nonna's Sweet Tuscan Peasant Loaf, and it requires only 3 simple steps. In a large mixing bowl, pour 1 cup of your active, bubbly apple honey starter. Add 1 1/4 cups of lukewarm water and 1 tablespoon of extra virgin olive oil. Stir with your wooden spoon until the starter dissolves into a creamy, frothy milk. Now add 3 cups of unbleached bread flour and 1 heavy teaspoon of sea salt. Bring the ingredients together with your hands for just 2 minutes until a soft, sticky dough forms. Cover the bowl with a damp towel and let it rest quietly on your kitchen counter for 1 hour. During this hour, the natural enzymes in the apple yeast begin breaking down the complex starches in the grain, making the proteins gentle and easily digestible for your gut. After an hour, wet your hands with warm water. Reach beneath the dough, lift one side gently upward, and fold it over onto itself into the center. Turn the bowl a quarter turn and repeat this gentle stretch and fold 4 times. You will feel the dough transform under your fingers from a rough, sticky clump into a silky, smooth, elastic pillow that smells like sweet honeyed dough. Repeat this folding process twice more over the next 2 hours. Then let the dough rest covered until it doubles in size and feels as light as a feather. When your dough is ready, tip it gently onto a floured wooden board. Shape it into a round bowl by cupping your hands and pulling the dough toward you to create surface tension on the skin. Place it into a floured wicker banneton or a bowl lined with a linen cloth and let it have its final rise for 90 minutes while you preheat your heavy cast iron Dutch oven or skillet to 450 degrees Fahrenheit. When the iron is screaming hot, invert your dough onto a sheet of parchment paper. Take a sharp blade and make a confident 1/2 inch deep slash across the top of the loaf. Lower the parchment paper and dough into the hot iron pan. Toss 2 ice cubes beside the paper to create that glorious steam chamber and slam the heavy lid down immediately. Bake covered for 20 minutes at 450 degrees to allow that wild apple yeast to burst upward in the steam. Then remove the lid, lower the heat to 425 degrees, and bake uncovered for another 20 minutes until the crust turns a deep, glowing amber gold with blistered edges that shimmer in the light. When you pull that loaf out of the oven, your whole home will smell like an ancient Italian orchard. Transfer the loaf to a wire cooling rack and listen to the delicate crackle of the crust as it sings to you. Resist the urge to cut it while hot. Let it cool completely for 1 hour so the tender, honeyed crumb sets into a soft, airy sponge. When you finally take a serrated knife and slice into that loaf, you will hear a crunch like dry autumn leaves. You will see an open, glossy crumb with golden highlights, and when you take your first bite, you will not taste the harsh sourness of commercial sourdough. You will taste the gentle sweetness of wild orchard apples, the warmth of raw honey, and the nutty richness of toasted grain. This is how bread was meant to taste. This is the bread that nourished our ancestors through hard winters and brought families together around the wooden table for centuries. With one wild apple, a spoonful of honey, and a little bit of patience, you hold the power to free yourself from industrialized food forever. Take care of your starter. Pass a jar of it to your children and your neighbors, and let real bread live in your home. Until next time, this is Nonna Rosa. Feed your pasta madre with love, bake with an open heart, and may your kitchen always be filled with warmth and good food.